I'm going to show you a video on how to butcher your quail. Now this is a process that a lot of people do when they're into quail, if they're doing high numbers or they're dealing with excess roosters. Some people who get into quail don't deal with that, and it is quite hard to stomach for some people. I would suggest if you're one of those people, don't watch this video. The reality is when you hatch out quail, you get around about 50-50 in terms of hens and roosters. So if you're putting them into a cage and growing them out, there's a lot of them, you cannot keep them in those ratios. The roosters will violently attack each other. There will be too many. They will overbreed the hens, who will get violently jumped on. A lot of them will get severely injured. You cannot maintain a 50-50 ratio in large pens. You can have one hen to one rooster. They will pair up and they'll feel comfortable, but you cannot have say 20 birds and have 10-10. That's a recipe for disaster. So you do need to deal with the roosters. Whether you can give them away, or as I do, I tend to butcher mine. Then there's also the fact that you might breed out more. Your hatch rate might come out more than what you need, so you will have hens that you don't want to deal with as well. You can't keep as many. And also there is a bit of a breeding program, so maybe you're designing birds based on the weight of them to keep them quite heavy, or also you're maybe breeding up certain colours. But what I'm going to do, so if you're not into any of that, please don't watch this video. It's a little bit graphic. I'm just giving you a warning there. But what we'll do now is I'll take you through the process of how to butcher your quail. So what you need is a couple of buckets. One I've got for the waste product and one I've got filled with water to wash them. I've got a couple of just Ziploc bags that I'll use to store the meat in the fridge or freeze it, and some scissors. This is what you need to dissect the birds. So we're ready to go. I'm going to go get some of the birds and we'll get started. It's useful if you have calm birds. You can keep them nice and steady. These ones are very calm. The first thing we have to do is take the head off. This is quite difficult the first few times you do it, and some people should never do it. I'm not going to show it, but yeah, I would say it gets easier the more that you do. I've taken the head off and I'm just draining it in the bucket. You need to keep a firm grasp around the wings because they try to flap, and if they do get a chance to flap, the blood will go over it, so you need a firm hold on that. And it takes about 20 seconds or so for it to, most of it to drain out. Okay, it's mostly done. Next part is to take the legs off and take them off at the join. So the legs are gone now. The next part is in the wings. Now most people would probably just clip the whole wing off, but there is a bit of meat in there, so if you want to keep the meat, what you need to do is go to the apex of where the wing expands out, that apex there, and you just snip down and the whole wing drop off there. That leaves a bit of meat on there if you're being particular. So the apex again, hold the bird. That's most of the cutting for now. Next thing I do is go to the breast. So I will open it up from here, and there, usually you can just peel it. You'll start to see that really good meat in there. These birds are not young, but they're not too old either, so it should be fairly easy. The older they get, the harder this is to do. But the ones that I'm talking about, the ones that are over a year old, they're really hard to skin. You can keep the skin on and pluck them. I'm not doing that today. That's quite good if you're going to keep them in the fridge, but if you're going to cook them in the oven. But I usually put them on the barbecue, and it does take twice as long. So you can see where I've cut that off. I left a bit of meat. There is a bit of meat on the actual wing. If you cut that right at the joint, you would lose all that meat. I'd rather keep it. So it's just working off the skin. I do the upper body, and the thing about if you can keep it all together in one, it comes off easier. If you tear it too much, yeah, so it comes off nice and clean. You will get, let me get to the back legs. Usually the butt end is where the actual skin sticks on. As you can see, it's coming off. And you see it stopped there because it's a bit of a slightly older one. So you just have to keep tearing off the rear end. We will cut some of this out anyway, around that section. So I'm actually just pulling that off there. Okay. Feathers, feathers, feathers. So what I'm going to do now is cut down the spine. I'm going to take that whole spine out, and with that a lot of the innards will come out. So I'm cutting right down there. Okay. So it's coming out. You can see a bunch of the eggs. This is a hen. I will actually feed that to the chickens because I don't like wasting anything, and they will love that. So I'll pull that out. I'll also feed this to the chickens, which is a unlaid egg, so that's got good stuff for the chickens too. So I'll pull out all of the innards. Now I'm going to bury this in my garden. I don't like wasting anything. I'll be able to grow some vegetables or something down the track from it. And so I've pulled out most of the innards. What you do need to do is use your thumb to force out the lungs. They get a bit sticky. And I'm going to cut around the rear passage. There's always a bit of stuff you don't want around that area, and a bit of fur. Now I'm going to give this a bit of a wash. And that's pretty much it. There's a few little feathers I'll just keep picking off. That's pretty much it. That's pretty quick and doesn't take long to get through quite a lot of those. A few stray feathers here and there. What I also do, because I've just found that it's easier to cook, especially if you're barbecuing, is I cut the bird into halves. It just seems to lie flatter on the barbecue, or even in the pan if you do it in the pan. So I've just cut. There you've got. They're just nice and easy to flip down, flip over. You can put some seasoning on one side and then flip it over, put seasoning on the other side. And that's pretty much done. I'll just put those in the Ziploc bags, and yeah, they're ready to be eaten. I normally do these. Some people do huge batches. I tend to do, because I like them just fresh, so I tend to do a couple, 2 or 4, and then have quail a couple nights, and I'll come back out and get a couple more as I'm going. But yeah, very easy to do. It didn't take me long at all.